Hey there, I'm Brian, and I've got a life full of twists, turns, and a little bit of mystery. Stick around and let's dive into my story. I never believed in ghosts, conspiracies, or the idea that some mysteries simply have no answer, until I found myself at the center of one. It started with a documentary. You know the kind. Eerie music, slow zooms on grainy black and white photos, a narrator with a voice like a graveyard breeze whispering about an event that defied logic. I had always been fascinated by them, the stories that made you shiver in your own living room. But fascination turned to obsession when I came across a case that wasn't just another mystery, it was my mystery. The segment was about a man who vanished without a trace in 1987. The documentary detailed how his car was found abandoned on a desolate road, engine still running, driver's side door open. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints leading away, just an eerie emptiness, as if he had been plucked from existence. The detail that made my blood run cold. The man's name was Daniel Mercer, my uncle. I had never heard of him. My family never spoke of an Uncle Daniel, and I had always assumed my mother was an only child. I called her that night, the grainy image of a young, smiling Daniel Mercer frozen on my TV screen. "Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Who is Daniel Mercer?" Silence. A long, heavy silence that felt thick with something unspoken. "Where did you hear that name?" she finally asked, her tone so sharp it cut through the phone. I hesitated. There was this documentary. It said he disappeared in 1987. That I swallowed. "He's your brother, isn't he?" More silence. Then a barely audible, "Forget about it." She hung up. I should have listened. I should have let it go. But there was something about the way she said it, the fear in her voice, that made it impossible to forget. The next day I started digging. Old newspaper archives, online forums, any scrap of information I could find. The story was always the same. Daniel Mercer, 26 years old, drove out of town one evening and was never seen again. The last person to speak to him was a gas station attendant who recalled Daniel seemed distracted, maybe even frightened. There was one strange detail I hadn't caught in the documentary. The attendant claimed Daniel had asked for directions to a place that didn't exist, Hollow Creek Road. That night I couldn't sleep. The case gnawed at me. I dreamt of a road stretching endlessly into the dark, of my uncle standing at the edge of it, looking back at me with wide, desperate eyes. I woke up with a start, heart hammering. I needed to know more. The next weekend, I drove to the town where Daniel had disappeared. It was a quiet, forgotten place, the kind of town where time slows down and the air carries the weight of the past. I found the old gas station, miraculously still standing, now run by a grizzled old man who looked like he had been there since the beginning of time. I showed him a picture of Daniel. "Do you remember him?" His eyes flickered with something, recognition maybe. But then he shook his head. "Nah, a long time ago." I wasn't convinced. "He asked you about Hollow Creek Road." At that, the old man stiffened. His gaze darted past me, as if making sure we were alone. "You should leave it be, son." "Please," I said. "I just want to know what happened." He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "People used to talk about Hollow Creek, said it was a place you didn't go looking for. If you did, you'd never come back." My pulse quickened. "But it's not real." He hesitated. "That's what they say, but your uncle, he thought different. He asked me how to get there. I told him to forget about it. He wouldn't listen." Road. I left the gas station with more questions than answers. If Hollow Creek Road didn't exist, why did people keep searching for it? And why did they never return? I should have gone home, but instead I drove. I traced the roads Daniel had taken, following the last known route before he vanished. The sun dipped below the horizon, and I found myself alone on a winding back road, surrounded by dense woods. Then I saw it. A road branching off to the right. There was no sign, no indication it had ever been on a map. But there it was, Hollow Creek Road. I stopped the car, heart pounding. This wasn't possible. It wasn't real. And yet, It was. The road stretched ahead, shrouded in mist, disappearing into the trees. I knew in that moment I had a choice. Turn back and forget I ever saw it, or keep going and find the truth. I took a deep breath and turned the wheel. The moment I crossed onto Hollow Creek Road, everything changed. The air grew thick, suffocating. My headlights barely cut through the darkness. The road twisted and turned in unnatural ways, like it was shifting beneath my tires. Then the radio crackled, a voice, faint, distant. "Help! Me!" I gripped the wheel tighter. "Hello? Not real, don't..." The voice faded, but I knew it. I had heard it before. It was the voice from my dream. It was Daniel. Panic surged through me. I slammed on the brakes, but the car didn't stop. It kept moving forward, the road stretching endlessly ahead. My breath came in short gasps. I turned the wheel sharply, trying to get off the road, but there was no edge, no trees, no ground beyond the pavement. Just endless, impossible darkness. And then I saw him, a figure standing in the middle of the road, wide eyes filled with terror. My uncle. I screamed. The car swerved. The world spun. And then, nothing. I woke up in my own bed. I don't remember getting home. My car was parked outside, covered in dirt and leaves, like it had been sitting in the woods for days. My phone showed I had been gone for nearly 48 hours. I never found Hollow Creek Road again. Not on a map, not in real life. It was as if it had never existed. But I know what I saw, I know what I heard, and I know that somewhere, out there, my uncle is still waiting, still trapped, still calling for help. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy mystery videos, hit that subscribe and like button, and I'll see you in next one.